out to be solid because he
Oh,
was opposed.
Ratcliffe would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
Would have been a no-nonsense guy.
he
Yeah, I
was
mean, I'd even
opposed to
told people
keeping
I
the Biden
supported putting
stuff
Ted
quiet.
Cruz in that position.
Whoops.
Because Cruz wants to be a future president, and he would play it much smarter than Pence did.
Yeah, at least.
You know, I mean, Cruz would have been happy to out the Biden family. Would have made his name to fame by doing so. So, there were certain places you could put Cruz that you could. There are certain places you couldn't, but there are certain places you could. And so that there were plenty of people he could, and the Senate might have voted for him to go to the Attorney General's office just because many of them hate him in the Senate.
Yeah,
that they would just want him out of the Senate. Oh, okay, we'll give you.
Oh yeah, I get you. I get your logic. Yeah, that's.
I mean, Cruz is really hated up there. He's still hated up
there.
Yeah, there's people that will just start shaking in anger about him.
Ever since the Obamacare shutdown.
Confirmation from this book. Now, two things in the book. One thing in the book is partially inaccurate. One part is that fundamentally accurate. One part says that Rudy Giuliani got into a cussing argument with Justin Clark, the White House president's elections counsel, where Clark, about the issue about whether or not you could do a recount in Georgia prior to the certification of the vote. And in there, it says that Giuliani was yelling, Trump was on the phone, Giuliani was on the phone, Justin Clark was in the room, and yelling at Justin Clark that Clark was lying because Clark had been telling everybody, including the president, that it was not even possible to have any kind of recount prior to the actual certification by the Secretary of State of the election results. Now, and what Giuliani yelled on the phone is he said Clark is lying. In fact, you can get a recount before the certification and another recount after the certification. Well, what's interesting is in the book misleads people into believing that Clark's position was correct. Clark was completely lying. Now, the way I know about this was Rudy Giuliani was taking credit for what I did. That was entirely my idea, my process. The first thing I identified when I went down to Georgia was that, of course, you could get a recount prior to the certification. And there were actually multiple means by which you could do so, but it was explicit and expressed right in the statute. This gives you an idea of how corrupted Trump's election counsel, his corrupted insiders were, that they were saying something that was directly refuted by the statute. Now, what the Wall Street Journal reporter, Mr. Big Inside Reporter, fails to tell people, at least in what I've seen so far, in the published reports in the Daily Mail and elsewhere of excerpts, one is he fails to tell people that that actually came from me. So he didn't do a good job on his sources. He clearly didn't have Rudy Giuliani as a source. He probably had, even if he had Justin Clark as a source, Justin Clark knew who that came from me. We had prior discussions on the phone on related matters. Clark was lying to the president. I didn't know that Rudy was taking credit for my ideas. That doesn't terribly shock me. That's part. It's Rudy being Rudy. God bless. And I see more why Trump thought Rudy knew a bunch of stuff. Rudy was busy taking credit for every good idea I or anybody else came up with. So Trump was thinking, oh, Rudy really knows election law. Rudy didn't have a clue about election law. He was just stealing ideas. And that's how he got caught later, because he kept taking ideas and then he started taking bad ideas from bad sources. And he didn't know how to draw the difference because he had no clue about election law. That now has him in trouble in New York, though I think those New York proceedings are totally bogus.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, Robert, this
just
is
briefly.
Crazy.
Second thing about the reporting, though, by the way, so it was one that, aside from them covering up the what really happened. By the way, for anybody out there, just look it up. There was a recount done before the certification. That's how lazy the Wall Street Journal reporter was done. Clearly, Justin Clark lied because there was an actual recount done before the certification. But the second component that's confirmed in aspects of that book are what we were reporting, what we were talking about, what we were focusing on was in fact part of the election process. But what we talked about right after the election was that McConnell was organizing the establishment effort to get rid of Trump and was meeting with Barr to try to get that done, meeting with others to try to get that done, had that lunatic theory in Georgia that if Trump would just concede, confess, admit he was bad, and then still campaign somehow this is McConnell's messed up mind. Trump will admit he's a bad person. Trump will concede. Trump will confess his bad actions. Trump will walk away politically, but Trump will come and still campaign for us and help us raise money. I mean, this is how stupid the turtle is. This guy is, I mean, I don't know what a turtle's IQ is, but the turtle's IQ has got to be less. I mean, it is bad. I mean, he's already a cold reptilian in his personality, but I didn't realize he was reptilian in his intelligence until reading that book.
Yeah, his IQ. Yeah, I'll tell you the second thing that I wanted to share too was that I know Matt Brainerd gave the FBI over evidence, and I know him and others that I had submitted some of our work to look at. Everybody was trying to double check.
Your work was submitted to them. Matt Brainerd's work was submitted to them. Nevada's work was submitted to them. And the case that I talked about, where they actually had video footage. They had video footage of corruption in a key state, and Bill Barr suppressed it. So Bill Barr's a liar. Bill Barr's a fraud. Bill Barr's a disgrace.
How do you do an investigation? Forget about a thorough one. How do you conduct any investigation without picking up the phones and calling the sources of this information? I didn't get a